Eli's very spastic. He's got tight muscles, but as soon as we put Zeke in Eli's arms, he'll loosen up. He'll try to position his arms so that he's cradling Zeke. And there's this real special bond there that's just so cool to see.
That's a form of therapy right there.
Some children have therapy dogs or therapy animals or something, and Zeke is a therapy baby because he literally brings purpose to Eli's arms. So Eli's arms will be spastic and moving, in certain directions or with no purpose, I should say. And then as soon as we lay Zeke on him, he scoops his arm. He knows what he's supposed to do, and he holds him. Granted, he's laying down in a bed, but he just scoops him up and, puts his arms under his leg and whatever. It's just very beautiful. It's very beautiful to see.
We are starting the new year with a story of incredible love, not just of parents for their kids, but a very strong, unconditional brotherly love as well. I am Seth Carnell, and this is the Go Shout Love podcast. Today we have with us Daidra and Eric, who have 3 boys, 2 of which are 11-year-old twins, and 1 is not even a year old yet. 2 of these 3 boys are our feature kiddos for January. One incredible feature about this story is the relationship between each of the boys with one another. Eli has cerebral palsy and is one of the twin brothers. Isaac is the other twin and does not carry a diagnosis. Now, fast forward a number of years, and along comes baby Zeke, who has been diagnosed with, and I apologize if I mispronounce this, Pontocerebellar Hypoplasia, along with other complications. I hope you have the same reaction in listening to this family as I did. I simply fell in love with them and their story, and was especially inspired in listening to how the boys protect and communicate with each other. This is part 1 of 2 conversations about Eli and Zeke and this wonderful family. We touch on many topics, including each boy's diagnosis, challenges they face, especially through COVID, and some life lessons as well. Daidra and Eric are a wonderful couple, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy listening to them as much as I enjoyed talking to them. With me in this interview is Jessica Santo, our Family Relations Director. We recorded this in mid-December and also over Zoom, as people do nowadays. One last thing before we begin. If you are new to Go Shout Love, or if you are familiar with us and are interested in shouting love for families every month, I encourage you to start a subscription. One of the reasons Go Shout Love is able to make a lasting impact is through our community that shouts love for every family we feature. We would love to welcome anyone into that group. You will receive a monthly, uniquely and artistically designed t-shirt for the featured family. Simply go to our website, goshout.love, to begin. I'm sorry my background is not as festive as Jess's. Hers is basically picturesque, and I have you in front of a piano.
I get into Christmas just a little bit over
here. That's a Zoom background.
Yeah. Our nurse and Zeke are out with our festive background, so it'd be a little loud and distracting. So we had to come in the bedroom.
No worries. Well, Daidra and Eric, welcome to the Go Shout Love podcast. We are so grateful that you guys took some time out tonight to be with us.
Oh, thank you so much for having us.
Yes, we're excited about this.
Excellent. So are we. We're very excited to shout love for you guys to kick off the new year. But to kind of kick this off, why don't you just tell us about your family? How old are your kids and what are they into? What do they like?
Oh, well, we have 3 boys, twin 11-year-old boys, Isaac and Eli. And we have a surprise baby, Ezekiel. He's almost 6 months.
What month was he born, Daidra?
Zeke was born in June.
June, summer baby.
Yes.
I hear that your boys, they like music. So what are some go-to songs that are being played in your house right now? Christmas music or other?
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think the biggest song for Eli is that song Happy by Pharrell. That's been played on repeat for years and years and years at this point. It never gets old, though. That's how you know it's a good song.
Absolutely.
Does he kind of beam with joy when it comes on, or does he interact with the song at all?
His whole mood changes for sure. He could be crying and really rigid, and he hears the song and starts to go with the beat a little bit, you know?
Yeah, it absolutely reflects. He gets happy when he hears the song Happy.
It's one of those very few songs that it could play 10 times in a row, and you might be annoyed with it, but you're still dancing along with it somehow.
Exactly.
That's how you know it's good.
For sure.
We have a lot of Jack Johnson playing in the house as well. Curious George, Upside Down.
Yeah. Yep. And right now, Christmas. I mean, I don't know if maybe the dad, but the mom sets the tone for the household, and I love everything Christmas. So I'm singing Jingle Bells and Deck the Halls, and Isaac is verbal, and so he's singing with me, and the other two are beaming. So
I love that.
I play Christmas music all day, pretty much. Do you like the classics Christmas music, or do you like the newer music with John Legend and Justin Bieber?
Yeah, so we're more classics, but I have a soft spot for Michael Bublé and Pentatonics. So a little up to date, but more crooners and Nat King Cole and all that,
Absolutely.
I'm right there with you.
So we'll get into kind of Eli's medical journey here in a minute, but I'm really curious with Eli and Isaac being twins, what's their relationship like?
Yeah, it's a special relationship. They're 1 minute apart, and Isaac will let you know that he's 1 minute older than Eli. But there's something about that relationship that just makes everyone around them smile. No matter what mood Eli is in, Eli's nonverbal and non-ambulatory. So essentially he can just sit around and watch what Isaac's doing or watch TV or whatever. But no matter what mood Eli's in, Isaac is right there, happy, sad, no matter what it is. And, it's been like that since the beginning. It's really special to see.
It really is. Yeah. He just lays with him. He'll watch a show with him. He talks to him. And what we found is sometimes it's difficult for people to have a relationship with someone who can't really reciprocate or give back to you in any way, maybe except just a smile. And Isaac, he doesn't see any of that. He just gives to his brother and just loves him unconditionally.
Do you think that twin intuition plays a role with their bond? Do you think that Isaac can feel something from Eli when maybe you guys, has it ever happened where you're having a hard time figuring out what is going on with Eli or how he's feeling, and Isaac kind of knows because of that intuition?
For sure. One of the things that I always wanted once we first found out we were having twins was for them to develop their own language and kind of have their own, things. And, obviously that's not going to happen with a cool kid like Eli. But Isaac will tell you, hey, this is what Eli is doing. This is what Eli is thinking. This is what Eli just did. Yeah. And whether we see it or not, Isaac totally believes it, totally gets with it. And then we'll even find out later on, no, that could very well have been the truth, Yeah. Pretty neat. Yeah. And Eli makes noises, and Isaac is always trying to interpret, this is what he's saying, or he just said that, or yeah, it's really cute.
That'd be really cool to see.
Yeah. We have video and pictures and things, but it's better firsthand.
Can you tell us a little bit about Eli's journey to a diagnosis at 1 year old?
Absolutely. I can try to give you a little bit, and Eric can fill it in, just a quick overview. So Eli, so he, in utero, they saw in the ultrasounds, they saw that something was a little different in his brain. When he was born, they also were kind of making notes about some of the noises he was making when he was first born. He didn't go right to the NICU, but before we left the hospital with Isaac, they had brought Eli to the NICU. He stayed there for 35 days. And while he was in there, he had some different episodes, some breath holding things and some neurologic things that they were concerned about. So they did some scans. They found out in the NICU during those 35 days that his brainstem and his cerebellum were smaller than they should be. and they had diagnosed him with the cerebellar hypoplasia. And then when he came home from the hospital after 35 days, we kind of pursued early intervention. And so he started with therapies at about 4 months old. And then we got hooked up with, different specialists, neurology, and I can't really remember. I think it was just neurology right at first. And so I think, we were kind of in the dark a little bit. We weren't sure what was happening, but the diagnosis didn't come till a year. But I think probably the therapist and few people around us probably knew his diagnosis before we did. We were kind of a little naive back then.
So while you're kind of figuring out Eli's diagnosis, you have another little one that you're caring for. How did you guys balance caring for twins while processing a diagnosis?
Incredible amounts of caffeine. It was that was the grace of God, because a lot of times, our experience is that He gives you as much as you need for that moment, the grace for the moment. And so if we would have realized what was happening day one, I think it may have been too big of a burden for us. But, the old adage, one day at a time, really is kind of our story, where, both boys were infants and just kind of completely helpless. And then their paths, although they're twins, were completely, divergent. And so, not really knowing, we were first-time parents, and we didn't really know exactly what that meant, but we knew we're their parents, and so we have to take care of them. And so the ritual at night would be, all right, you take the first shift at night, and then I'll take the second shift. We'd stay up with Eli because we couldn't put him down. He would just cry, and Isaac was a little bit different. I mean, obviously he still cried, but when someone was holding Eli, the other person would be kind of caring for Isaac, and then you just kind of pass back and forth. And, we look back and we think, man, how did we do it on no sleep to speak of for, a couple of years in the beginning there. And just realize if it wasn't for the grace of God in our lives, we wouldn't have, that's for sure.
You guys really had to lean on each other during that time. I know what one baby can do to a marriage.
Yeah.
And two, and then a diagnosis. So it's amazing to see you guys so loving and happy right now. I love that.
No,
absolutely. That's God as well. I mean, you can't.
You guys been married?
Well, it's going to be 20 years in 2021 here.
Yeah,
so August will be 20 years. And, though parenting is like a magnet, if it's the wrong way, that can repel you like this, but thankfully it's kind of locked us together. And it doesn't hurt that I'm borderline obsessed with my wife. and she's, she's been my best friend for 22 years at least. And it's been neat to see difficulty, kind of both lead us in the same direction toward Jesus. And when you do that hand in hand, you just become closer and closer.
Yeah.
Regardless of
we decided that we could let the frustrations of things pull us apart and drive a wedge, or bring us closer together. I mean, when we're having a tough day, instead of arguing with each other, which, I mean, we're not perfect. I mean, we have disagreements and things, and, you have to take a deep breath and this and that. But we've learned over the years, I mean, I'd rather just hug him, I'd rather have a hug. I'd rather, talk about it. I'd rather have this bring us together and do it together than do it apart. We can't imagine taking care of our 3 boys separately, so we just have to, do what we can and trust God and love each other as much as we can,
That's amazing. So you guys talked a little bit about how much Eli loves music. So is he doing, I would like to talk a little bit about the therapies that he's doing. So he does music therapy. Does he do any other therapies, OT, PT? And kind of a double question there. I want to know how COVID's affected your therapy sessions right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So music therapy, I think, is bar none his favorite, because physical therapy is something that he absolutely needs, but it works him and kind of tests him, and he does in positions he doesn't want to be in. So he loves music therapy. When his music therapist, Mandy, comes, she came today, he lights up. He's excited. She says he like makes noises in the right key. And I'm like, really? Like, I'm thinking she's lying to me, but she's a great lady. So I know she's telling the truth. And she said, he's musically inclined. And So anyways, he loves music therapy. She comes twice a month. I wish she could come every day, but twice a month is great. And she plays guitar and drums, and it's just, even just the vibrations and the sounds just wash over him. And he's at peace, and he just loves what she does. He also has massage therapy. So he does that 4 times a month. So once a week, a massage therapist comes in with oils and, just soft music and just warmth. And just like we talked about, he loves that gentle, warm touch because his muscles are so tight and spastic. He does. So prior to COVID, he would get PT, OT, and speech at school. And now during this time, he's all virtual. So he's home.
Oh, man.
And, so we're,
that's not the same, is it?
It's not the same. So it's no offense to anyone, but basically right now I'm the physical therapist and the occupational therapist and speech. They say log on and then do all the work. So they're great people, but it has affected our family in great, greatly because I'm not a physical therapist. And so that therefore Eli is kind of taking a hit, and his body's taking a hit right now without the physical therapy that he really does need.
Well, and too, I think I'm sure he's a strong 11-year-old boy. So physical therapy has to be challenging for you to lift him and do
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
He's 70 pounds now. He's not as heavy as your typical 11-year-old boy, but he's 70 pounds just straight up weight, and we firemen carry him. We don't have a Hoyer lift yet because we just bought our first home after 19 years of marriage. We just bought our first home in January of this year. And then we had to quarantine in March. So we were going to get the process going for the modifications to the home. And then everything took a hit, and now everything's backed up. And so we don't have any roll and shower or like a Hoyer lift for him. So we carry him around the house, or we lift him out of bed and put him in his wheelchair, and we can roll him through the house. But pretty much we just carry him if we need to.
Are you guys is it close to getting to a place where you can start doing that stuff, or is it like you have to wait for things to calm down a little bit more?
Yeah, we're waiting for things to calm down a little bit. So I think things are like kind of backlogged, if you will. And we have a service coordinator. And so she's doing the best she can to try to navigate those waters and trying to keep us in the loop as to how things are progressing. But you need to have people come into your home for like measurements and things. And certain people aren't coming into the home at all. And other people are. So it's a little differing depending on who you are.
Excellent. Well, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about Zeke. Can you tell us about his journey, his young journey so far?
Yeah. Well, Zeke is a fighter, and he is 6 months old. But he was our surprise baby. We weren't planning or expecting him, and but then he fought his way into our lives, and we're so grateful that he did. We were going to get bored during COVID, the quarantine, just sitting around. So being pregnant with him.
I had a COVID baby.
Oh, nice. Absolutely.
COVID baby too.
Absolutely. Yes. So actually it was great. I work at a school as well as a church. And so having to shut down and kind of just be home was great because I could take care of Eli. I could lift him while Daidra was pregnant. I could get the house ready. As we said, we just bought a house. And so my days were spent getting the home ready and kind of taking care of Daidra and taking care of Eli and Isaac and just kind of waiting for Zeke to arrive. And in the womb, as we did an ultrasound, we learned that he has a mass on his neck in his lymph system. And can you remind me of?
Yeah, it's lymphangioma.
Lymphangioma, yeah. There's so many other things happening in his world right now that I kind of forgot. Yeah. But that just essentially means that he had a mass on his neck, kind of in his face area when he was born, and weren't really sure exactly what that meant and how to kind of take care of that. But as we went on with life, we knew that was going to be okay. We were going to, there were things we could do to clear that up.
Yeah. They were saying it was kind of cosmetic. They could take care of it. They could drain the fluid basically out of it.
Yeah, for sure. Few months in, he was born in June. And then in September, we noticed that the mass is kind of getting bigger and bigger and bigger, swelling up. at pretty significant levels. And so when it did, we were realizing that we needed to go to the hospital. So we took him to the doctor. The doctor said to go to the hospital. Long story short, the lymphangioma was filling up with blood. And we spent 53 days in the hospital. 28 of those days he was intubated because it was closing off his airway. So he needed tracheostomy and a couple procedures of sclerotherapy, which kind of shrinks the mass. Then in the midst of all of that, we began to realize that there was something even more significant than the lymphangioma that he was kind of experiencing.
Mm-hmm. It was like all the restrictions in the hospital. Could you guys be there at the same time?
Yeah. So our first stay that, we stayed at the hospital twice now. Once was for 51 days. And we were able to be together during that period of time during the day. So the chunk of like Eric would come up, late morning and stay till like bedtime, like, I don't know, 7 or 8 o'clock. And then he would go home. And so we'd switch. So one of us was at home with our other boys at night. And then one of us was at the hospital. So we could stay during the day, but at night just one of us could stay.
Wow. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around that, because that is a heavy dose. I mean, you have your amazing boys at home and you had no real awareness of this in utero. So how are you guys I guess this question's for Daidra. Did you have any motherly intuition or instincts that there was something a little bit more going on besides his mass? Because I know you guys recently had an MRI with Zeke. Is that right? So did you ever have that kind of mother intuition that maybe there was something a little bit more going on?
Actually, no, it was kind of the opposite. The first 3 months that he was home prior to our hospital stay, he was a kid that, or a baby that didn't resemble Eli at all. His movements were different. His demeanor and temperament were different. And so we were hoping, and we were almost convincing ourselves that we had sidestepped, cerebral palsy and anything neurologic, just because he wasn't giving us any signs of that. The mass was the only thing that was staring us in the face. And then when it swelled up and we ended up in the hospital, we thought, okay, well, maybe this is God telling us, or showing us a way to get this taken care of sooner, or he knows something obviously that we don't and sees something that we don't. And so we were kind of going on that. And then when we came home from the hospital after 51 days, we were home for almost 3 weeks with this different baby, who came home from the hospital completely different. He was agitated. He was crying. He just was uncomfortable in his own skin. And he then resembled Eli in all sense of every word. And so it's still a mystery. And that's why I had said earlier that we're still seeking answers. We're still, first of all, seeking God, but seeking medical answers, because he was a different kid prior to his hospital stay, where he was heavily sedated and paralyzed with medication to keep that breathing tube in. And so we're not sure. I mean, we have no medical background except what we've learned with our journey. So we don't know, could something like that lead to this, or was he going to be this all along? And so as we seek the Lord and as we, ask neurological questions to the doctors and different things, I guess we'll get some answers and some we may never know.
Are you guys currently waiting on like a test result, or are you speaking with a specialist right now? Like what's the next step in your process in figuring out his situation?
Yeah, sure. So we did get the MRI, which did reveal the pictures of the brainstem and the cerebellum, which are smaller than your average. There's a lot of space that should be filled in, is what the neurologist said. So we don't have any tests pending yet, but he would like to do genetic testing. When Eli got his genetic testing, it showed, which floored my husband and I, that Eli has both strands. So both strands or strains of his DNA show that Eric and I are both a carrier for the Pontocerebellar Hypoplasia. And so now we will pursue genetic testing with Ezekiel to see if he has both strands or just one. I don't know what that means, what that'll look like. But my husband and Eric and I were very shocked, because, we don't have any special needs. We don't have anything like that. It doesn't run in the family at all. And so for us to both be carriers was kind of a shock to us.
what's the connection between Eli and Zeke? How is their brotherly bond together? How does Eli care for Zeke? I'm sure he's a great big brother.
It really is incredible. We have video of bringing Zeke home from the hospital and Eli giving him kisses. And Eli's very spastic. He's got tight muscles, but as soon as we put Zeke in Eli's arms, he'll loosen up. He'll try to position his arms so that he's cradling Zeke. And there's this real special bond there that's it's just so cool to see.
That's a form of therapy right there. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah, that's what I said. I said some kids have a therapy. Yeah, some children have therapy dogs or therapy animals or something, and Zeke is a therapy baby because he literally brings purpose to Eli's arms. So Eli's arms will be spastic and moving, in certain directions or with no purpose, I should say. And then as soon as we lay Zeke on him, he scoops his arm. He knows what he's supposed to do, and he holds him. Granted, he's laying down in a bed, but he just scoops him up and, puts his arms under his leg and whatever. It's just very beautiful. It's very beautiful.
There's like a natural brotherly instinct that just kicks in.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yep.
Thanks for listening. Remember, this is only part 1 of 2 episodes, and if you like this one, I am positive you're going to love part 2. Each month at Go Shout Love, we shout love for families with kids on rare medical journeys through the sale of creative apparel inspired by the kids. This month's Take Care design is inspired by Eli and Zeke, 2 brothers who are navigating their own rare medical journeys side by side. Along with the love and support of their brother Isaac and parents Eric and Daidra, this family models what it means to take care, to recognize what is most important in life, and make careful choices to give ourselves to what matters most. Every purchase in January will help the family with expenses related to installing a wheelchair ramp for their home. Visit our website, goshout.love, to support Eli and Zeke through the purchase of a t-shirt, a sweater, a hoodie, a tumbler, or other items. One last thing. If you have a child on a rare medical journey or know of a family with a child on a rare medical journey, you can nominate them on our website. Simply go to goshout.love, click on the nominate button in the navigation menu. This is the first step and one of the many ways that we begin as a community to embrace these families, these kiddos, and alongside them do our best to go shout love. Thank you, everyone.